Pleiades? Engineer Kim asked. Lee shook his head. Not yet. Let them see that their fear is creating exactly what they're afraid of. The question on everyone's mind remained unspoken but clear. Would fear of the impossible lead to impossible conflict? As war preparations intensified across the galaxy, the true test of humanity's new physics was about to begin. The war that everyone expected never came. Instead, humanity demonstrated something that proved far more powerful than weapons. On the day the Dominion fleet prepared to fire their first shots, the humans responded not with their advanced destructive capabilities, but with an offering. Every human vessel in the galaxy simultaneously broadcasted the same message across all channels. We invite you to learn alongside us. Captain Lee's voice echoed through the cosmos. Fear closes doors. Curiosity opens universes. Then they showed something unprecedented. The human ships didn't retreat or defend, they transformed. Each vessel became a floating classroom, open and welcoming to any species willing to approach. Dr. Zenkai was among the first to accept. Her ship docked with the horizon, and what she found inside changed everything. It's beautiful, she whispered, as human physicist Jin walked her through the mathematics of expanded physics. Not chaos, just bigger thinking. Meanwhile, Officer Chang worked patiently with Professor Bile next, helping her understand that throwing away old knowledge wasn't necessary. Your physics work perfectly for your scale, Chang explained. We're just adding new levels to the building. Even War Master Torgax, after weeks of resistance, visited a human vessel. He emerged hours later, his entire perspective shifted. They showed me order, he announced to his stunned council. Just not the order we knew. The transformation spread slowly at first, then accelerated. Scientists who had spent lifetimes within rigid frameworks discovered the joy of expansion. The humans didn't replace existing knowledge, they enhanced it, showed how traditional physics were special cases of much larger systems. Dr. Vexmar and human scientist Yoon began working together, combining alien precision with human creativity. Their joint projects yielded discoveries neither species could have achieved alone. Look at this, Yoon exclaimed during one session, pointing to calculations filling multiple screens. Your mathematical frameworks, combined with our expanded approaches, suggest entire families of universes we haven't even begun to explore. The observatory became the center of this new scientific renaissance. Chief Kelton, now co-director with Captain Lee, oversaw projects that would have been considered impossible just cycles ago. We're not just exploring space anymore, she announced during the historic Unity Conference. We're exploring the spaces between spaces, the layers reality builds itself upon. The humans shared everything: how to communicate with dark matter entities, how to perceive quantum consciousness collectives, how to find the hidden structures of existence that had always been there, waiting for someone to notice. But the greatest change wasn't technological. It was philosophical. We thought impossible meant something couldn't be done, reflected Dr. Zenkai during a galaxy-wide broadcast. Humans taught us it just means not yet discovered how. The military powers that had threatened war found their weapons suddenly unnecessary, when existence itself was so much larger than anyone had imagined. Old conflicts seemed small. The energy that had gone toward fear now powered exploration. 6 cycles after first contact, the galaxy looked completely different. Mixed crews of humans and aliens ventured into realms that transcended traditional physics. They found civilizations that existed as living mathematics, discovered energies that flowed between dimensions like cosmic rivers, encountered entities that made the impossible seem routine. The interspecies scientific collaboration launched its first expedition to what humans called the Deep Strange, areas of reality that operated on physics so exotic they required entirely new frameworks to understand. Remember when we thought FTL travel was the ultimate achievement? Dr. Zenmar laughed during the expedition's launch ceremony. Now we're planning to visit places where concepts like speed and distance don't apply. Engineer Kim stood beside his alien colleague, sharing designs for ships that incorporated both traditional engineering and human impossibilities. It's funny, he mused. We spent so much time arguing about what was real, we never asked what else might be real too. In the depths of space where stars created colors no traditional eye could see, where civilizations built their homes in the gaps between quantum states, humanity and their new partners discovered truth after truth. They found that reality was far stranger than anyone had dreamed, but also far more welcoming to those brave enough to explore it. The impossible became merely the not yet explored. The universe revealed itself to be endlessly creative, waiting patiently for its inhabitants to grow curious enough to find its secrets. Years passed, measured in discoveries rather than cycles. The galaxy that had once feared change now embraced it, understanding that the only true limit was the limit of imagination. And in the quiet moments between expeditions, when scientists of dozens of species gathered to share their latest findings, they often wondered how they had spent so long being afraid of the infinite possibilities that had always surrounded them. The universe, as humans had known all along, was far bigger than anyone had dared to imagine, and infinitely more welcoming to those brave enough to explore it. Continue as you are, Lee admitted. Your current science works well for your current goals, but if you want to explore the true extent of what's possible, we'll need to unlearn everything we think we know. Chief Kelton finished. Not unlearn, Lee corrected. Expand. Your foundation is solid, we're just showing you how tall the building can really be. The observatory fell into contemplative silence as the gathered scientists grappled with the implications of humanity's revelation. The reaction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the Grand Council chamber of the Dominion of Eternal Stability, War Master Torgax slammed his primary appendage against the crystalline table, shattering its perfect surface. These humans mock everything we stand for. His voice echoed through the chamber, carrying centuries of authority. They challenge the very foundations of our civilization. Science voice Pelrix, smaller and more timid, tried to reason. Perhaps they simply discovered new possibilities. Knowledge should be shared. Freely shared. Torgax roared. They threaten the cosmic order. For 50,000 cycles we've maintained stability based on proven scientific laws. Now these primitives claim our entire framework is incomplete? Defense Mind Croval joined the heated discussion. The human demonstrations were witnessed by our finest researchers. The evidence is undeniable. Then the evidence must be wrong, Torgax declared. Or worse, it represents a danger that must be eliminated. Meanwhile, at the observatory, the scientific community found itself divided. Dr. Zenkai threw herself into understanding human physics while Professor Balenext grew increasingly agitated. They're unraveling everything, Balenext argued during yet another emergency session. If our fundamental understanding is wrong, what happens to our technology? Our society's built on established science? But what if they're right? Dr. Vexmar asked quietly. What if we've been limiting ourselves unnecessarily? Chief Kelton monitored incoming communications with growing concern. Not all responses to humanity's revelations were peaceful. Reports indicate several militant factions are mobilizing, she announced to the gathered scientists. The Dominion has issued a containment order for human technology. Dr. Zenmar looked up from her calculations. Containment? They can't possibly contain something they don't understand. Fear makes entities do irrational things, Corval observed, his gaseous form swirling anxiously. Back on the horizon, Captain Lee reviewed intelligence reports with his crew. Officer Park studied tactical displays while Chief Engineer Kim analyzed potential threat assessments. The Dominion isn't the only concern, Park reported. 3 other major powers view us as existential threats. They're forming a military alliance. They're afraid, Kim added. Our technology challenges their entire worldview. To them, we're not just breaking rules. We're threatening reality itself. Lee nodded thoughtfully. Prepare full defensive measures, but maintain peaceful protocols. We knew this might happen. In the observatory's communications center, Mix monitored transmissions between various alien powers. What he heard disturbed him greatly. Chief Kelton, you need to hear this, he called urgently. The Dominion is declaring human technology A violation of cosmic law. They're labeling it a threat to universal stability. And our response? She asked. The humans. They're not backing down. Captain Lee sent a message to all concerned parties. He said they're prepared for whatever comes next. The captain's words had been simple but chilling. We hoped for scientific collaboration. We're prepared for alternatives. As tensions escalated, extraordinary reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Human vessels weren't just traveling between systems anymore. They were visiting places previously thought impossible. Lieutenant Choi reported contact with beings living in quantum superposition states. Commander Wong documented civilizations existing in pocket dimensions. Each discovery shattered more conventional scientific assumptions. They're not just showing us new physics, Dr. Zenkai realized. They're revealing that the entire universe is far more populated than we imagined. But fear spread faster than wonder. The Eternal Stability Dominion deployed its war fleet to intercept human vessels. Other powers began developing countermeasures based on traditional physics, weapons designed to force the humans back into normal space-time. They don't understand, Park told Lee during a strategy session. Their weapons assume we operate within their physical constraints. And we do, Lee replied carefully, when we choose to. The crisis point approached as alien fleets assembled at the edges of several systems, broadcasting demands for humans to cease operations and submit to containment protocols. Meanwhile, neutral scientific factions like the observatory crew found themselves mediating between worldviews. We need to find common ground, Chief Kelton urged during emergency talks. War benefits no one. But how do you find common ground when the very nature of ground itself is disputed? Asked Dr. Zenkai. In the depths of space, humanity's expanded understanding allowed them to monitor all communications. They knew exactly where each fleet positioned itself, understood every weapon system being deployed against them. Should we demonstrate our defensive capability? Contact them directly. Passive observation isn't enough anymore. Agreed, said Professor Bile next reluctantly. Though I fear what we might learn. Dr. Zenkai moved to the communication console. Their vessel is clearly monitoring us. They must know we're studying them. Activate standard first contact protocols, ordered Chief Kelton, but prepare for anything. The assembled scientists watched as the communication package was sent toward the human ship. The message included mathematical sequences, basic physics, constants, and requests for information about their propulsion technology. The response came immediately. This is Captain Lee of the Earth vessel Horizon. We've been expecting your contact. The voice was surprisingly calm, and the translator had no difficulty processing human speech. But what shocked everyone was what the human said next. We've known you were monitoring us since we entered this sector. Your sensor technology is quite advanced, though limited by certain assumptions. Dr. Zenkai leaned forward. What assumptions? That the laws of physics are fixed and universal, Captain Lee replied. We found that not to be entirely true. Professor, Bilnick sputtered. Impossible. The fundamental constants of the universe cannot be variable. Captain Lee, interrupted Korval, would you be willing to demonstrate your propulsion system under controlled conditions? Of course. Stand by. What happened next left the galaxy's finest scientists speechless. The human vessel began a series of maneuvers that violated everything they knew about physics. First, it performed instantaneous directional changes without any acceleration curve. Then it split into 3 separate energy signatures before recombining seamlessly. Finally, it created a localized time dilation field, causing a nearby probe's chronometer to run at half speed. This is madness, whispered Dr. Zenmar. No, Dr. Zenkai corrected quietly. This is something beyond our current understanding. Captain Lee's voice came through the speakers again. We discovered that what you call laws are more like guidelines. The universe is far more flexible than your science accounts for. Chief Kelton stepped forward. How is this possible? Because we stopped accepting impossible as an answer, the human captain replied simply. We kept asking why not, when others stopped asking why. The assembled scientists stood in stunned silence. 50,000 years of scientific tradition was being challenged by humans they had considered primitive just cycles ago. Perhaps, Corval finally said, we should listen to what they have to teach us. Retry SF Captain Lee's face appeared clearly on the main display screen, calm and measured. The human looked young by alien standards, with alert dark eyes and short, black hair. He spoke with surprising confidence for a species the galaxy considered primitive. Thank you for accepting our communication, Lee began. We've been monitoring your activities across several systems. Your scientific achievements are admirable but incomplete. Chief Kelton shifted uneasily, her tentacles writhing. What do you mean by incomplete? You've built your understanding on certain assumptions that limit your perception, Lee explained. For thousands of cycles, you've believed certain things were impossible because your experimental frameworks couldn't accommodate them. Dr. Zenkai leaned toward the display. And humans simply decided these laws didn't apply to you? Lee smiled, slightly. We decided to test whether they were truly universal or just traditionally accepted. Show us, demanded Professor Biela next. Demonstrate how you violate fundamental physics. Gladly. Please activate your recording systems and brace yourselves. The scientists watched their screens as the horizon began its demonstration. First, the vessel performed a dance through space-time that defied gravity. It moved without thrust, stopping and starting without deceleration periods that should have liquefied the crew. Look at the sensor readings, Dr. Zenmar pointed out. No inertial stress indicators. It's as if momentum simply doesn't affect them. Then something even more impossible happened. The Horizon ship phase shifted. Its molecular structure became translucent, then completely permeable to matter. An asteroid passed through the vessel harmlessly, like light through clear water. Great galaxies, exclaimed Dr. Vexmar. Controlled phase shifting at the molecular level, without a massive energy grid? But Lee wasn't finished. The human vessel created a visible distortion in space around itself. Time moved differently within the field. Their chronometers showed it clearly. A minute inside the field took 2 minutes outside. Localized time manipulation, Corval analyzed, his multiple minds working in harmony. The energy requirements should be astronomical. Should be, Lee corrected. But that's where your science limits you. You calculate energy requirements based on traditional methods. We found alternatives. Captain Lee then demonstrated something that truly shook the assembled scientists. The Horizon ship split into 3 distinct energy signatures, each performing different maneuvers simultaneously. Then, as casually as breathing, the 3 signatures merged back into one vessel. We've made contact with what you call impossible phenomena, Lee continued. Dark matter entities exist beyond your detection range. Quantum consciousness collectives live in spaces between dimensions. Your science hasn't discovered them because you haven't looked in the right places. Dr. Zenkai found her voice first. How did you discover these places? By refusing to accept your definition of impossible, Lee answered. Human curiosity doesn't stop at established boundaries. We kept exploring when others stopped, but your technology was primitive just cycles ago, Professor Biela protested. How did you advance so rapidly? Because we collaborated with the impossible, Lee said simply. The dark matter entities taught us about quantum foam manipulation. The quantum consciousness collectives showed us how to bend probability fields. We learned that reality is far more cooperative than your science assumes. Chief Kelton's tentacles curled tightly. You're suggesting a fundamental rewrite of our understanding? I'm suggesting an expansion, Lee clarified. Your physics work beautifully for most applications, but they're a subset of a much larger picture. The human captain gestured and new data streams appeared on the observatory screens. Mathematics unlike anything they'd seen before, yet strangely elegant and consistent. These are the expanded frameworks we use, Lee explained. They incorporate traditional physics as special cases but extend into domains you haven't explored. This is chaos, muttered Professor Biela, though her eyes studied the mathematics intensely. No, Dr. Zenkai corrected, understanding dawning in her expression. This is evolution. Lee's expression became serious. We knew this day would come, when the rest of the galaxy would notice our methods. We're prepared to share everything we've learned, but understand this. Once you see what we see, the universe becomes infinitely larger and stranger. Some of our own species struggled with these revelations. Lee continued. Your challenge will be greater with thousands of years of established scientific tradition to reconsider. What's the alternative? Asked Dr. Zenmar quietly. Dr. Vexmar stared at his screen, then blinked all 6 eyes and looked again. The numbers still didn't make sense. Something was moving through space at impossible speeds, heading straight for their research station. Chief Kelton, we have a problem, he called across the observatory's main lab. The massive alien scientist lumbered over, her forearms sorting through data streams while her tentacles operated multiple control panels. What now, Vexmar? Another asteroid off its predicted path? No, Chief, look at this. Vexmar pointed to the holographic display floating between them. This object is moving at 3 times the universal speed limit. That's physically impossible. Chief, Kelton's facial tentacles curled in confusion. Your equipment must be broken. Nothing can move that fast without tearing apart space-time itself. I ran diagnostics 4 times, Vexmar insisted. The readings are correct. Junior Technician Mix scuttled over, his chromatophores flickering anxiously. I confirmed the data. Chief, whatever that thing is, it's breaking every law of physics we know. Chief Kelton tapped her main console with a tentacle. The large central screen filled with tracking data, energy signatures, and trajectory calculations. Every scientist in the observatory turned to watch. Great galaxies, whispered Dr. Rencole from her post. It's not just the speed. Look at those gravitational readings. The object was bending space around itself in ways that required the energy output of a small star. Yet the signatures showed a vessel no larger than a standard cargo freighter. Specialist Cree stood up at his workstation, his scales rippling with agitation. Chief, I've identified the origin point. It's from the Sol system, from Earth. A collective gasp echoed through the lab. Earth meant humans. The species barely capable of basic warp drive just 2 cycles ago. That cannot be right, Chief Kelton declared. Human technology is primitive. They only achieved faster than light travel recently. Check again. Cree ran the calculations once more, his claws dancing across holographic controls. Confirmed, Chief. The craft's design matches human engineering patterns, but the power readings are impossible, Dr. Vexmar finished. No known technology can generate that much energy without creating a singularity. The alarm system suddenly erupted in a symphony of warning sounds. Red lights flashed throughout the observatory as automated systems detected something even more disturbing. By the ancients, exclaimed Mix. It's not following any known trajectory. The ship is making directional changes that violate conservation of momentum. Chief Kelton's tentacles writhed as she activated emergency protocols. This is a Code Omega situation. Contact all major scientific authorities immediately. Tell them we have an anomaly. What should we tell them exactly? Asked Dr. Rencole nervously. Tell them that either our understanding of physics is completely wrong or something impossible is heading our way. Dr. Vexmar continued monitoring the approaching vessel. Chief, there's something else. The craft appears to be scanning us. Its sensors are active and they're using frequencies we've never encountered before. Defensive shields up, Kelton ordered. But maintain peaceful protocols. If this truly is human technology, they've somehow achieved in decades what took other species millennia. Specialist Cree pulled up historical data on his screen. According to our last reports, humans were still struggling with basic antimatter engines. How did they develop something that makes our fastest ships look stationary? And more importantly, added Dr. Rencole, how are they doing it without destroying themselves? The observatory's main communication array crackled to life. Mix monitored incoming responses from across the galaxy as news of the anomaly spread. Chief, we're receiving acknowledgments from the Quantum Institute, the Gravitational Research Collective, and the Council of Advanced Physics. They're all sending their top scientists here immediately. Chief Kelton nodded grimly. Good. We'll need every brilliant mind in the galaxy to figure this out. Dr. Vexmar looked up from his calculations. Chief, I've been running simulations based on the energy signatures. According to our physics, that human ship should have triggered a cascade effect that tears apart local spacetime. But it hasn't, Kree observed darkly. No, it hasn't, Vexmar agreed quietly. It's as if the laws we've known for 50,000 years simply don't apply to them. The observatory fell into tense silence as everyone contemplated the implications. Outside, stars twinkled in their ancient patterns, but inside, some of the galaxy's finest minds wondered if everything they thought they knew about the universe was about to change. The human vessel continued its impossible approach, leaving a wake of shattered scientific certainty in its path. Within 2 stellar cycles, the observatory was packed with scientists from across the galaxy. Dr. Zenkai arrived first, her ship barely reaching the docking bay before she rushed to the main lab. The famous physicist from the Quantum Institute immediately requested all available data. "Show me everything," she demanded, setting up her equipment at a vacant workstation. Professor Bile came next, bringing a team of gravimetric specialists. The elderly researcher had spent 3 lifetimes studying space-time manipulation, and her expression grew more puzzled by the hour as she reviewed the data. "This cannot be real," she muttered, running calculations on her floating screens. "These readings suggest the human vessel is creating localized distortions without the necessary energy input." Dr. Zenkai looked up from her analysis. "That's exactly what bothers me. Look at these engine emission patterns." She projected her findings into the shared holographic space. The human craft produces exhaust signatures that defy our understanding of propulsion physics. Lead theorist Korval floated in from the deep space section, his gaseous form contained in a specialized environmental suit. His 7 minds processed data streams simultaneously, reaching conclusions faster than most supercomputers. "I've run the numbers through every known scientific framework," Korval announced, his voice echoing through translation devices. "The results are identical across all models. What we're observing is impossible." Dr. Zenmar joined the discussion, carrying portable laboratories in her multiple arms. "Perhaps our frameworks are incomplete? Maybe these humans discovered something we missed?" 50,000 years of scientific advancement, scoffed Professor Bill next. "The greatest minds in the galaxy contributed to our understanding of physics. Are you suggesting primitive humans surpassed all of us in mere decades?" "Look at the wake patterns," Dr. Zenkai interrupted, pointing to new data appearing on the main screen. "The human ship doesn't just move, it warps space around itself, in ways that create zero resistance. It's like surfing on space-time itself." Specialist Kree approached the group carrying fresh sensor data. "We've detected something else. The human vessel is generating field effects that phase shift matter. Watch this recording from Automated Probe 7. The hologram showed the human ship passing through a small asteroid field. Instead of dodging or deflecting the rocks, the vessel simply passed through them like they weren't there." "Great galaxies," gasped Dr. Zenmar. "Selective permeability at will? That violates fundamental particle interaction laws." Chief Kelton assembled the collected data into a comprehensive presentation. "We need to